Okay, Hilchos Talmud Torah Perek Beis Dr. Malacha Aleph. So Perek Aleph was about the chiv learn Torah and how to divide your time. Then Chagav, people say that Amnez Hakdama says I wrote this sefer, so you read Torah Shebechsav Tanakh, then you read Mishnah Torah, and that's all you need to read. You have to hold Torah Shebal Peh. So they hold that Rambam holds Gemara is not important. So such a thing is obviously not moritz, because in Hilchos Talmud Torah we just learned in Perek Aleph, the last two halachas. Rambam says clearly that you have to divide your time in three. A third in Tanakh, a third in learning halacha l'maisa, and a third learning Gemara. But besides the B'layla, so those people will say that the last two halachas, that it has to be a third of the time has to be devoted to Gemara, and that's only in the beginning. Once you mastered Tanakh and you mastered all the halachas, tag mitzvahs, most of your time should be there in Talmud. The Reiv Limud is in Gemara. Ram says this is the last two halachas. Halacha Yud Beis Yud Gimel. I'm sorry, halachas.
Yud Beis, it says
sorry, yeah, right. So Yud Aleph and Yud Beis, excuse me. Halachas Yud Aleph and Yud Beis, or the halachas Rambam says this. Good. I just want to put that out. Halacha Perek Beis. Okay, education system. Halacha Aleph Mashivim Melamed Tenekis. You have to establish teachers to teach young children Torah, which Berach Pashas means up to the age of Bar Mitzvah. Some say till 9. Pashas Bar Mitzvah. B'chol Medina in every country, B'chol Pelch in every city. So what's bigger, Medina or Pelech? It's not clear. Why Ram mentions both? It's not clear either.
Pelech, it says Machos.
Good. Question: what Machos is larger than a city or a district? Like a
district.
So why does Ram say both? It's a question, but whatever the question answer is.
The state and the city.
Yeah, you have to state level yeshiva, and then they say okay. Chol Yeshain, but you have to have in every single village for sure. You have to have in every district. So what's the all right? Chol Yeshain, but in any city they don't have a system there. Whoever wants to teach a kid Torah, the parents homeschool them. Whoever doesn't want to, the kids run wild. And maybe even the city Taka has all the parents are very diligent about homeschooling. But still, there's no established cheder in that city. You put the people in the city in excommunication in the cheder. So they establish somebody who's designated as his job is to teach children Torah. And if they don't do that, then after the cheder doesn't work, I'm not sure how long you give them, 30 days, a year, but if eventually they don't get the message, you destroy the city.
Tomahawk.
Say again?
Tomahawk.
What's Pshat?
Tomahawk.
Oh, miss, exactly. Tomahawk in my head is a kind of axe, because there's a kind of Indian nation that, right, there's a kind of missile today. I'm behind times. Why talk? Why so severe? The world only survives and exists because of the breath of the children of Torah. It's Hevel Shein Bechet, has no aver in it, and therefore this city is treated like an Ir Hadachas. Do you mambish destroyed with all the halachas of an Ir Hadachas, a city that's been convinced to worship Avodah Zarah with all the details that Ram tells us of Avodah Zarah? I'm not sure, but you definitely do some kind of cleanup job over there. All right, good. The Alter Rebbe says in Shulchan Aruch, he quotes from the Oros that basically the Kanach Chazal was to have the community fund for all the kids in the city to pay. Everyone gives like a public education. Everyone gives money, and whoever can afford, whatever they can, and then they have a cheder. Whether you're poor, the minig today is everyone pays for their own kid, and if someone can't afford, then they go to the tzedakah fund. Good, fine, weiter. Base. You bring kids. What ages they start school? Like 6 or 7 years old. The Mefarshim over here say that it means like we call 6 or 7 years old, not pshat. Like he's saying capital Vav or Zayin, which means we call 5 or 6 years old. No, we call 6 or 7 years old. And the Mishnah says Ben Chamesh Lemikra. It means Ben Chamesh. He's 5 full years, and he's already into his 6th year. So, okay. It depends on the koyach of the child and how capable he is of being away from his mother and being in school and all whatever the physical necessities of going to school and being there for the whole day. Also, the Mefarshim say it includes how intelligent he is. If a kid is not smart enough yet to benefit from a teacher, you have to. It's not worth anything. Less than 6 years old, you're making the cheder. He's not yet developed enough. Yep. Weiter. In Islam, the teacher is allowed to hit them for the purposes of learning. If they don't want to learn, he's allowed to discipline them this way. The hata le'im, just enough to make them afraid not to follow the rules. They have to learn. The ein you don't hit them in a cruel, chastising fashion in a cruel way. Therefore, don't use a stick, or a rod. A small strap, but just enough to get the kid to be afraid enough to learn. And it says in the Shulchan Aruch that if you hit them too much, you have to take him out of his job because it's not good. You have to the mila. It doesn't do anything. And he's a Rasha because he's the Yosef hitting another Jew. It says Yosef, right? You now give the person who's Chayav Malchus more. So if you hit a child in a way that's not going to be directly helpful for the chinuch, you hit him more another time, and here it's mashma, only hit him once, but it's the quality of the hit is too strong, then it's the aver of hitting another yid. This is interesting. Back then, school hours was sunrise to sunset. That's a long day in the summertime. Okay? And some of the night as well. The educated children, they should learn day and night, because the Yid's mechuyev to learn Torah a little bit of day and a little bit of night. In other words, there's a chiyuv min Torah to teach your child Torah, but there's a chiyuv derabbanan of the mechanech child to perform mitzvahs. So mitzad the chiyuv of teaching your child Torah, you can do whatever you can teach them only a day, only at night. But mitzad the chiyuv derabbanan of educating to perform mitzvahs properly, you have to teach them to learn Torah day and night, because that's the proper way of even kind of mitzvah Talmud Torah. All right. School is never canceled. Today's Shushan Purim, I'm not sure why school is canceled, but that's the din. The Rambam says school is never canceled. Except on Fridays and Erev Yontif. But say if you at the end of the day, how close to the end of the day? It's not clear how close it is. The minute today, the pasuk says it's after Chatzos. But Seif Hayim is, Bastam was later back then, but that's the minute today. All right. That's the din. The Agoras Ashvi says that there are times you have to give the kids a break for their own benefit. I mean, the bias is there's a concept of recess, of hafsaka, of a break. Does it mean that every day or whatever it is? But that exists for the purposes of helping them learn better. Obviously, the word that I'm saying is that you don't like just give them a day off for nothing, because that's the word. Okay. So there's no school on Yom Tov, because in Yom Tov it's a mitzvah to be b'simcha, and this is interesting. I mean, and he's saying over here based on Ashkenazi's beard Shulchan Aruch that in Yom Tov there's a mitzvah of simcha, and for the kids learning Torah is Kabbalah soil. It's not the mile of simcha dafka. Mela mitzad being mesamech the children, and the followers chizar samech them. You have to take them out of school and give them a goyzim, nuts, and clothing, whatever it is they like. Good, fine. However, on Shabbos they have this. Shabbos is supposed to have yeshiva, but they don't learn new material. And Lashem and Rishon, they review what they learned before. The Gemara explains different reasons why that's how it should be on Shabbos. Okay. They have another consideration. If there's a mitzvah to be done, a person. That was going to tell us later in Perek Aleph. In Perek Gimel, that there are times if the mitzvah has to be done, no one else to do it. A person stops learning Torah and goes to the mitzvah. Example is Bnei Beis Hamikdash. To stop learning to build the Beis Hamikdash. Now, children are not mechuyev in mitzvahs. But if you need physical help, people to do things, so have the kids come, schlep, carry whatever. The answer is no. Don't have the kids stop learning, even for the purposes of building the Beis Hamikdash. The adults are mechuyev, but the children not. The adults are more mechuyev in Talmud Torah than the kids. There's special Indian dafkin learning and children learning Torah. So if you don't stop the children from learning, even to build the Beis Hamikdash, even though the Rambam tells us it's Beis Bechira, that it's a chiyuv to build the Beis Hamikdash, and everyone has to help in their body and their money. But the adults have to stop learning and go build it, not the kids. It's a chiddush gadol, because again, if you're a strict halachist, have all the kids go. The adults should learn Torah because they're mechuyev, and there's not enough people, then the adults should help out. But no, the Rambam says fakert. All right, Gimel. Lama tinaikis. The teacher who leaves the class goes out to use his phone. While he's teaching them, he's playing the stock market on his phone. He's like lackadaisical, doesn't teach them with their proper, clarity, the proper vigilance. Be careful, they're learning good, right? To make sure they understand. They ask them, and you understand. They ask them, say back to you. You got to make sure they know it. He goes in the category of the pasuk. It says in Yirmiyahu, cursed is he who does the work of Hashem with deceit, with trickery. And the first from there say he brings the malvin that's pasuk is actually talking about a malamed. All right, this is also some therapists who while they pretend to listen to you, meanwhile they're on their phone. All right, therefore it's not proper to have a malamed who's of their chagav. So what's the source of? A malamed should be a Rishamayim person who's a person who's Yerushalayim. Who's very good at Tanakh. He knows how to learn and how to teach it. Medakdek, and to be medakdek, in other words, be medakdek, not just in dikduk, but he's medakdek. He knows how to see if the kid's taka got it. Because a little kid does not know how to explain to you if he understands it. This person understands whether I always stop shal doctor because he knows how to understand. Like taich is good and dikduk and all these things. But he's saying doctor he means to make sure the kid teach correctly so the kids taka understand. Yeah.
How many kids should he have in his class?
Oh,
He
so
doesn't say.
no, so we're going to see soon. Yeah, that's going to be in Halacha Hey. The Alter Rebbe says in Shulchan Aruch, he quotes over here from the Shachan, that if after we say to discipline the child, to hit him, and it doesn't help. He doesn't want to learn. So the Alter says, don't take him out of the yeshiva, let him sit there, because among his friends, and in the end, he'll learn from them, and he'll go along with the crowd who's learning, and he'll learn taka. I think that's the mistama. It means he's not disturbing others. That's it. Okay, all right. The Ramah says in Shulchan Aruch that Malamed is not allowed to be up late at night, because then he's not going to be able to teach, even if he feels awake. Well, I'm adding that. I don't know, but the point is he's not allowed to just assume that he's going to be fine. He's not allowed to, he has to make sure he's properly rested. All right. Halacha Dalid. A person who's not married means he never was married, and most of us, even if he was, but not right now, he's not married, right? He should not be a malamed because the mothers come. The Rambam didn't tell us about transportation yet, but some of the parents bring the kid. That there was taka. Abba Helf at Baal Shem Tov, I did that. Yeah, there was a person's job was to go be the bus driver. He would carry you walk around and take the kids. But basically, there were times where the mothers would bring them, and that's not appropriate for the malamed to be socializing with the mothers. Like Ram tells us also in Hilchos about the Berg Chavez over there. Now, a woman should not teach children. Why not? She knows how to teach them. What's the problem? She knows how to teach Tanakh. She's very good. Could be she has Alamilas. And you have to women who are very good teachers. They can teach girls with someone. Ram doesn't talk here about teaching girls. That was I think Perek Aleph. But here the assumption is these children, these Talmidim are boys. Yeah. Because there's no chiyuv Talmud Torah for girls. Because the children, the fathers come, and they come to pick up their sons, and therefore it's not appropriate to socialize with the mothers when they come to pick the kids up. Although the truth is, the Mefarshim say that when the vart is if a bacher is a teacher, and women come to pick up their kids, that's a problem of not inappropriate socialization. The mother coming to pick up her sons from school, that's a problem of yichud. That's more of a concern. And it's the Gelamaisa, whose spouse is in the city close to the cheder and whose is not, and that's why it would depend on. Okay, fine. Yep. Today the part is if it's in a public place, people are making on these things. If the school's in a public setting, not in some guy the Malamad's house. And how many kids per class? You have up to 25 kids, could have one malamed. Okay. What if there's more than 25, 26, 27, until there's 40? So there's 30, I think there's 39 kids. So then in that case, you put a teacher's assistant to help him with the limud, to help the process of facilitating the behavior of the kids and the limud and everything. Okay. If there's more than 40, you don't just give a helper. You have to have two separate classes, two separate teachers. That's the way to do it. And again, the Paskim say this only give, and it all depends on different times, how kids are different today, and today, less the better. Yeah. Okay. Right. The marker of the concept that we said, if a malamed is who's lackadaisical, so the Gemara says that he's bechlal or. It's the Gemara in Bava Basra. It says that Yoav ben Surya went to one of the wars against Edom, Edom. He only killed the males, not the females. Even though the mitzvah over there, I guess I'm not sure the war with Edom or Amalek, but basically he was supposed to kill everybody. And so they asked him why. He says, "My Malamed told me in Timcha Zachar Amalek, you destroy the males." So he went to find his Malamed, and he asked him, and then basically it turns out the Malamed wasn't careful enough to make sure that Yoav was doing correctly. Yehuda ben Tzriya was one of the big Chachamim. That's one of his mistakes, and therefore he only killed the Zachar. He didn't know his Zach Amalek. It was Timcha Zachar Amalek. So he was so angry. So the Gemara is machlekes. Some say he killed the Malamed, some say he didn't. And some means he killed him in Bez. I'm not sure what. Okay, Vayter. Vav. Yeah, you're allowed to take the child from one Malamed to another. It was better than there's no monopoly on the child. What's the chiddush? You might think that once you have him somebody, you're supposed to keep him there because it's confusing. I'm not sure what the chiddush is, but that's what. Okay. Whether the malamed is better than the first malamed, he's able to mikra with chumash, meaning he touches over here to teach more material. He teaches better quality. Whichever one is better, it's okay. Whichever one is more important. which for this child. But Merda one is a shuba if that's if both in one city. There's no river. Even though it's a further walk, whatever, there's no river and it's one city. If it's in one city to another, which is more likely for things to get robbed by bandits or whatever, it's more of a sakana. Let's see if you one city, you gotta go over the Brooklyn Bridge, right? So then you don't take a child of sakana in this context. Unless it was a very strong structure, a bridge, so the Brooklyn Bridge is okay on the other river. A structure which won't fall easily. But therefore, it's not a sakana. But from one city to another, that you don't do, that's considered a sakana. Now, this belongs in Hilchos Shmiras Nefesh. But you might think that the Hilchos of Talmud Torah, we said, is even so important that you don't have the kids be involved in business in Bnei Beis Hamikdash. So you might think it's a Mesiras Nefesh Indian that the child should go wherever he should go as long as he can go better than Malamed, and the schus will protect him. Rambam says, no, you don't do that. If it's dangerous, a different city or the same city across a shaky bridge, like, in China, they have those bridges. It's like the truth is those bridges are actually safe. They're scary, but they're not dangerous. Whatever. If it's not a safe bridge, you don't take the kid across. Okay, right there. Halacha Zayin. One of the people in the Mave, which is, of course, a bunch of chutzers, they have together, they lead into a Mave, an alleyway. Yeah. Tzadikish Liosas Malam, who wants to become a teacher of children in this house. Like the Rambam talks about this in Hilchos Shchenim, laws of neighbors in Perek Vav. If he wants to be a malamed, even if one of the people of the chatzir, the other neighbors cannot protest to what he's doing. In other words, not only is it true that if you are in the same maveh, but we're in different chatzirs, you can't complain that I'm teaching children. Even if you're in the same chatzir as me, you still can't complain I'm teaching children. You can't say that the noise is bothering you. That's not legitimate, because the Rambam's lashon, I think, the Chashenim is person can't say that I'm disturbed by the hevel to nigga shel b'shrabim. It's not a taina. It's not a taina for a yid. All right, weiter. V'chein malama to nigga, similarly a teacher of the children. Guy opens up a competing cheder across the in the same chutzner. So other kids should come answer to him, meaning not these kids. They're not taking his kids. He's going to take other kids. But for it, it's still competition, maybe whatever. So he's coming to take away this guy's Talmidim. He can't protest. Because whether it's Simchas or another Chatzar, that's the din. In other businesses, you could protest. It's Hasagos Gvul. When it comes to Chinuch, no such thing. It says Hashem desires for the schus of Klal Yisrael, Torah should be proliferated, and the more the better. And therefore, there's no taina of Hasagos Gvul and Chinuch. The Gemara brings the marker from it says Kina Seiv and Tabachach. The fact there's a competition in Cheder, but the Ram doesn't choose that pasuk because that's only a raya that there's a heter. If you want to, you could. The Rambam brings this pasuk. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to have another cheder in the same city to make competition in order to be magdater. That's he brings from Kotasichas of Echel Lam, page 301.
Therefore, there's also a mitzvah to have more shuls.
Interesting. Okay.
To this shul,
yeah, it could be fine. We should have a shir Rambam right there on the other table. 100%.